So, it turned out that this was a little bit my bad. I had sent the information to our speaker or our presenter, and I thought he had sent it back. It turned out it didn't happen. But maybe he missed the letter. So I've been thinking about. I usually don't speak here unless something bubbles up that wants to be said. And something had been bubbling up. Can you all hear? Is it okay? Okay, I've been bubbling up in me. And so when I was asked yesterday, I said, yeah, I have a topic that I'd like to talk about. I think the new year is a very, very good time to reflect a little bit and coalesce a little bit. Who are we? What are we? What is our core belief? What distinguishes this community from other communities? And so the first thing I thought was something that I talk to speakers about. When they ask me what Circle of Miracles is about, I say to them, we are a community that is whose philosophy of existential reality, or what all this is about, is based upon the direct experience of the members. That means everybody who has come through this door, everybody who's here now, everybody who will come in the future, contributes their vibration and understanding of a consensus of what's going on in this universe we're in and what's going on in this cosmos. There's no particular teaching, there's no particular tradition, there's no particular teacher, there's no particular book, there's no particular anything that we follow. It used to be very influenced by Course in Miracles, and now it's not. I mean, it's still informed by it. So everybody here right now is contributing by your vibration, which is the heart of this talk, of the essence of what you are, to bring into being the space we have here. It's not by accident that we have a loving space, a portal. I think that one of the things that distinguishes us is being both a mystical community, which is direct communion, and a metaphysical community, which is understanding how things work. And also, of course, a loving community. So if I were to encapsulate something very important about what has given rise to where we are all at, the phrase would be non-duality. Now, in the East, they understand non-duality very well. All the religions of the East are non-dual, and the religions of the West are dual. Dual means two. Non-duality means not two. And so what has happened since the 60s in this country and in the West is there has been a great chasm or a gulf between the conventional Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and the religions or philosophy of the East, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, these main forms. And the main gulf is the religions of the West are dual. Dual means two. God is there, I am here, and we're separate. And the way generally non-dual religions portray how this all came about is God is a painter or a sculptor. And God painted the painting, or God created the sculpture, stepped back and said, as in Genesis, and God saw it was good. And then God wants to have kind of a relationship with all the painting and the sculpture, but it's still separate. So God might send some energy the sculptor's way, and they might pick up on God's energy. And then gradually a little bit of a relationship forms, but God's up here and they're down here. And there's all this stuff going on with God, and you have books written about it and all this kind of stuff, and all these philosophies about, why this teacher got sent and what happened here and all that stuff. but still the foundational belief is separate. Now, you can form a close relationship with God, but you can never be God. Judaism is blasphemy, excuse me. Absolute blasphemy. It's one of the reasons why Jesus was not accepted by the Jewish people. The claim in the Gospel of John that he was God incarnate. That's a no-no in Judaism. Christianity, Jesus is God, but nobody else. And Islam, I think nobody can be God. Even Muhammad is not a prophet. In the East, it's the opposite. It's non-dual, not two. It says God is not a separate being out here. God is the ground of being. Existence itself, that contains everything, that everything emerges from it, and everything is inextricably united and one and connected with it. Therefore, whereas in Christianity, you have to earn salvation, mostly by believing in Jesus, but they get it kind of mixed up a little bit. They throw in a little bit, Matthew 25, the goats and the sheep. The sheep go to the right hand of God, and the left, they go down to the bad place, depending on what's called works, your good deeds. So they kind of couldn't make up their mind, but it's mostly believing. And then you will earn salvation. In the East, it says there is no salvation to be earned because you're already that. You were that, you are that, you always will be that. What has happened is a veil of forgetfulness on this planet, and I can't speak for other ones, has come down on all human beings, and we have forgotten who we are. And so one of the great things people always say is, it's an act of remembrance. There's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do to gain something. It's about unlayering to remember that which is always eternally present and that which is what we are. And that's the heart of non-duality. The great mantra in Vedanta is thou art that. Or thou always was that. That is that now. You will be that. You always will. You can't. It's like the air. You can't say to the air, "Please, air, help me become part of you." The air is always around. It's not what it is. It's the same way with divinity or the nature of existence itself. We are one with it. So therefore, the better analogy rather than the painter or the sculptor is there are a number of ways to look at it because there are various schools of non-duality. And so this goes back to what Susan said. Everybody's got a little bit of different way of looking at things, and nobody's right and nobody's wrong. It's a perspective or a lens. So one way to look at it is we are united with God the way the branch is part of the tree, or my hand is part of my body. Where does my hand end and my body begin? Where is there a distinction? And with a branch of a tree, you get a little bit more distinction. To me, the better analogy is the ocean and the wave. The ocean is completely contained in the wave. There's no place in the wave you can say that's wave and that's ocean. The waves rise, the waves fall, but the waves are always ocean, and yet for a moment, the waves appear to have individuality. Now, some schools of just Eastern thought say we are an extension of, but forever united with. Therefore, the individuality will always exist. Other schools say, no, it's an appearance. It's an illusion. Well, both say it's an illusion. The illusion is we're separate beings. And in reality, we're all one and connected in ways that we just don't see. And my personal stance is that was set up for a reason. That the whole way this came to being was it was an exploration on the part of infinite consciousness. As Conversations with God said, what would happen if I allowed myself to be what I am not? I am one, let myself become many. I am united, let myself become split. I am love, let myself experience not love. And so that gives a really good example of why we're here. Years ago, when I was at Circle, when I would say to people, we are one with God, we are that, people got very upset. I'm one with God. God can't be God. I'm a part of God. I'm a piece of God. I'm a right of God. No, 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 no. And that went on for a while. This was like 18 years ago. No one wanted to hear it. They could accept they were a part of. No one wanted to say you are that. Remember 5 years ago or 6 years ago, Michael Kamut gave a talk. And what came out of him was, I am light. And I said, wow, we've come a long way. Now, I got to be honest here. What I say intellectually is not always what I feel. I was with Christy Mabo. They were saying we were one with God, and the guy looked at me and said, "You don't believe that." Said, "You don't believe that." And because she was looking at my emotional center, saying you think it, you intellectually understand it, but you don't really fully embrace it. It's not an easy thing to fully embrace. But I remember when Michael gave that talk, and I didn't know him that well at the time. I'd seen him here for years. I said, "Wow, that's amazing." He's really articulating, and that's always been kind of the bottom line, but it's grown. It's really grown a great deal. So, so the basis of non-duality is we are that. Give me a second. I have to look at my notes. Pick up where I'm at. One would, I don't want to get into the esoterics of it, but there is one way in which I want to make an understanding of how this works. Every human being, as they develop spiritually, has the ability to tap into divine wisdom, divine guidance. And as we're seeing more and more, as we unite with the reality of who we really are, people are now beginning to be able to transmit divine energies in ways that only great gurus in the past used to be able to do. Susan is a particular example. I think many people here in this room can do that. Sam Shell, there's many, many people now. And so that's allowing, that's something, it is said in scripture that Jesus said, the works I should do, you shall do greater. Meaning you and I are identical. Although John doesn't like, Gospel of Thomas says that, the Gospel of John doesn't. So we are feeling that coming more and more and more. So every person here, no matter where you are on the planet or even off planet, has the ability in any time, in any place, to tap into the wisdom of source. The wisdom, the energy. How could that be? The source is over there, and I'm over here. Wouldn't I have to go to the temple or the mosque or some place to get it? No, it's in here. And this brings up an interesting thing about non-duality. God is non-local. What that means is there's no place that God specific. Now, even when we use the term higher self, we are creating separation, higher and lower, because we use language and we do the best we can with language. So if God is non-local, that means that the center, the full center, is everywhere at once. And there's no place the center is not. Which means that we are the center and have forgotten that we're the center. But because we are the center, means that we have access at any moment to that which is our own, because we're not separate from it. So this is like very much, hold on, let's see where I'm at. I don't know if I want to go to that place. One of the ways, no, I don't want to do that either. Yeah, that's why I don't want, yeah, that's good. I think I've made the point.
Very well, then. Yeah.
Yeah. what I want to do is, there was one thing I wanted to, there are more esoteric aspects to this, this is a vast topic. This is a topic that addresses the heart of humanity's questions about the nature. My own personal take is Vedanta in the East is the most mature and elegant form of understanding the nature of existential reality in a religion on the planet. And I'm going to read a poem from Kabir because this expresses it very well. But what I've come to see, this is my belief, by ourselves, without studying formally, we have come in alignment with Vedanta, with the idea that thou art that. It's a very great thing and shows a great amount of advancement of everybody who's come through these doors, that this has arisen naturally from everybody here. Nobody studied it. Nobody went to, study Hinduism or Buddhism. This is something that people innately came to intuitively understand and has become kind of the core foundation of this community. That's an extraordinary thing. And when I look for speakers, I do the same thing. I look for people who have that understanding because I feel there's a coherence there. So I'm going to finish with a poem by Kabir. Rumi is well known. Rumi said the same thing. Rumi was on the same page with all this, although he was a Sufi. He said, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You're the entire ocean contained in a drop." Same thing. So when you get to all the mystics, whether it's Kabbalah, Christian mystics, the Sufis, everybody's seeing the same thing. You don't get the divisions. So anyway, I want to read a poem by Kabir, which is, he's one of my favorite poets. Kabir was an enlightened master, but he was also a poet. So you combine this high realization. Now, the other thing I want to make really quick before I end is that this does not mean that devotion to God goes out the window. It's part of the package. It's part of the way it was set up. My belief is that the Absolute understood in creating this place that we were going to need form to associate with, to connect with. And so devotion is inherently built into the universe to connect. And that I was taught from my guru, through devotion, one achieves union and then remembrance. But loving God and devoting to God and feeling connected to God in that way is part of the package of all this. It's not the end point, but it's in all non-dual ways respect devotion as important. So you don't throw the baby out with the bath, And so sometimes I'll flip into my devotional phase and be more into, I want to work with angels, I want to work with my guides, I want to work with Jesus, I want to work with Mary. That's my subtle form devotional phase. And then I'll flip over to this lens and say, I'm going to drop all that. I just want to be right here, right with what is. No concepts. There's a famous saying, if you see the Buddha on the road, kill him. The meaning of that is you have to take conceptual models of this and throw them in. Because what is beyond this. Holding on to this, you can't have this. And that's part of what non-dual direct experience is about. So let me read this poem by Kabir, who states it very well. Great. If you look up Kabir online from Tagore, there's about 101 poems of Kabir. Now, Kabir used the word he for God. I'm going to use it to be for gender. When it itself reveals itself, now the word for God in the East is Brahma. Let me use it, but Kabir uses Brahma, which I love, Brahma. When it itself reveals itself, Brahma brings into manifestation that which can never be seen. You might close your eyes just to allow. Poetry is good to take in right brain and not to analyze. As the seed is in the plant, as the shade is in the tree, as the void is in the sky, as infinite forms are in the void, so from beyond the infinite comes, and from the infinite, the finite extends. The creature is in Brahma, and Brahma is in the creature. They are ever distinct, yet ever united. It itself is the tree, the seed, and the germ. It itself is the flower, the fruit, and the shade. It itself is the sun, the light, and the lighted. It itself is Brahma, creature, and Maya. No distinctions, no differences. It itself is the manifold form, the infinite space. It itself is the breath, the word, and the meaning. It itself is the limit and the limitless. And beyond both the limited and the limitless is it the pure being. The essence of everything is a pure being, known in Hinduism as Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. It is the immanent mind in Brahma and the creature. The supreme soul is seen within the soul. The point is seen within the supreme soul. And within the point, the reflection is seen again. Kapir is blessed because he has the supreme vision.